And we're back here, Boom Bus, with Dr. Heather Exner-Pirot. She is at the Macdonald-Laurier Institute as a director, as well as a senior fellow. Heather, you were just about to go into the exploration aspect of mineral exploration and other natural resources. Tell us a little bit where Canada stands on that.
Yeah. So when you think, well, it takes 15 years to build a mine, how can that be? And part of the reason is the first, 2, 3, 4, 5 years are about exploration and finding, deposits that are actually economic, that the world wants, and then getting the approvals and then doing the construction, also making sure it lines up with commodity markets and the price of the cycle too. So Canada is actually very attractive for exploration. We are leading the world now in exploration spending, which is very positive. And so that's some of the fruit, I think, of the most recent critical mineral strategy and the investment there. But again, that is still a far cry from the approvals and then from the construction process. So again, geologically, we're very attractive. We know there's lots in the ring of fire, and we've known that for 10, 15, 20 years, and there's still no projects, approved. But also there's a few other areas. The Golden Triangle in BC has a lot of activity. Here's an interesting fact I like to say. The Tahltan Nation covers most of the Golden Triangle in BC. That First Nation has 3% of world exploration spending right now, just in that one First Nations territory. So there is interest, things are happening, but there's a lot of other pieces of the puzzle that have to come together to make these happen.
Can we switch gears and talk a little bit about nuclear, in particular small nuclear reactors? They're a large topic of conversation now. How do they help to fit into our desire to meet our climate goals and as well extraction of resources?
Yeah, great question. So uranium is maybe my favorite critical mineral because I'm from Saskatchewan. And if people don't already know, northern Saskatchewan has the richest deposits of uranium in the world, some of the richest deposits of any ore in the world. Some of those, Cigar Lake, I think, has 17% grade, 16% grade, just a preposterous amount of grade in the ore. So when you pull it out, you don't have to do that much refining and processing. So very rich deposits. The great thing for energy security about uranium is that the biggest deposits in the world are being held right now in Canada and Australia and Kazakhstan. So between Canada and Australia, we can really meet our allies' needs, no exaggeration, for hundreds of years with the uranium reserves that we have. So in the last year, again, with the Ukraine war kind of sparking this different era, there's been a tremendous change in Western public appetite for nuclear, that it's become obvious that renewables can't power everything. We don't have the minerals. They aren't, they take up a lot of space. You need a lot of transmission. Doesn't work everywhere. And yet we want to move off coal and natural gas as fossil fuels. So the obvious low carbon baseload solution is nuclear. And we're seeing lots more interest, lots more reactors being developed. And then this fourth generation of reactors, small modular reactors, which is meant to address some of the safety concerns and also the economic concerns of building giant reactors. The smaller ones, you can get some efficiency in the manufacturing process. It has some inherent passive safety features. And in terms of financing, which is a big deal of financing a new nuclear reactor, it's easier to get the financing for the small reactor than kind of the traditional multi-billion-dollar reactors we've seen in the past.
And would you say that these SMRs, these small modular reactors, there's an economic case that can be made for them as well?
There is an economic case, absolutely. We need, there might be a premium in some cases, but in India, we're already seeing that nuclear is actually more competitive than renewables in some cases. But to tie it back to resource extraction, why is Canada not punching its weight in mining? And part of the reason is because our geography is quite difficult. We don't, in the north, where all these deposits are, we don't have the roads, we don't have the energy infrastructure. And there's no major mining company that's going to build a new mine based 100% on diesel anymore, because it will not reach their own ESG goals. So how are we going to get the energy to go up in the north and develop these big industrial projects of mines? And a big part of the answer to that is small modular reactors, that they can be off grid, they can provide heat, they can provide energy, they electricity. And already some of these bigger mines are bringing in, 85 million liters of diesel a year. At that cost, the small modular reactor looks very competitive.
I didn't realize it was that amount of diesel. So we've got about 30 seconds before the break, but you're kind of optimistic that there is movement afoot to perhaps incorporate this technology then.
There's movement afoot. A lot of these new SMRs, some of the models are being designed particularly with this application in mind. And of course, the mining industry is very, very interested. We just need the regulatory process to come into play now.
Okay, that's the rub. The regulatory process once again rears its head. We're speaking with Dr. Heather Exner-Pirot of the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. We're going to take another brief break, but we'll be back with our guest after that. Please stay with us.